And welcome. We are in 303 and we turn now back to Mr. Conrad's Unstoppable volume. We are at lesson 36 in the Unstoppable volume, page 1, 2, 3. Don't quit is the title here. Let's put down a couple of things in our journals really quickly about the focus. We've mentioned this before, let's say it again. The difference between will or desire and sustained will or desire. Students will often report, especially athletes, I can say I want to do something and I genuinely believe it. But when you come back and visit with me a year later, my interests, my desire is not as strong as it once was. Number 2, I like this line out of this chapter, and so we're going to emphasize it. Autograph whatever you do with excellence. Autograph it with excellence. I like that line, and it's one that a number of my seniors have liked as well. I like this one as well. You might write this one down. We're going to meet it. And when we meet it, I want you to remember it again. Success is failure turned inside out. Wow, what a great line. Several of us in this very room can point to moments in our life when this is absolutely true. Success is failure turned inside out. Let's go ahead and read a few lines here. Lesson 36. The best thing about teaching, and I would concur with what Mr. Conrad says, he and I share many of the same views about teaching. The best thing about teaching in the same school for over 26 years was seeing how my quote-unquote projects turned out. I referred to my students as my projects. Every Friday I'd work on those projects, and my favorite tool was the Friday stories. The purpose of these stories was to build up the students. Each year, after the final Friday story, I would tell my students, quote, it's up to you to finish the project that I've started and autograph it with excellence, end quote. Rich Sadler was one of my projects. He required a ton of work. In fact, I had to work overtime. The first day I met him, he threw stones at me, literally. I was working as a maintenance man after getting RIF, reduction in force, from my teaching job. I was back in my former wood shop one day cutting sheets of plywood. Rich was turned loose, unsupervised in that shop. When Rich threw a fistful of stones at a classmate, I got hit in the crossfire. I was furious. If somebody would have told me that day that the same mischievous young man would many years from now become a physical therapist and treat my son, I would have said impossible. As it turned out, I got my old teaching job back, Rich's sophomore year. The second he walked into the classroom and saw the maintenance man he had hit with stones the year before, he knew things were going to be different. This self-confessed, misguided youth just needed direction to channel his energy. One or two of us would be able to say, this is so true. Self-confessed, misguided youth, just some place to channel the negative energy to turn it into positive energy. That is to say, Mr. Conrad argues, there are no bad kids. There's no such thing as a bad kid. There's a young person who's maybe got some energy issues in regards to how you're channeling that energy. With some direction, Rich started to excel. He excelled not only in my class, but on the wrestling mat as well. I got to really liking this kid. We went hunting, fishing together, and had a blast every time. At the conclusion of his senior year, Rich confided in me that he was thinking about doing something no one from his entire family tree had ever done. He wanted to go to college. He wanted to become a wood shop teacher, just like you, Rich said. I knew the road he was choosing was going to be tough, especially for Rich. So before he left for college, I gave him a handwritten copy of the poem, Don't Quit, along with some money to help him out. This is to me what true teachers are all about. This was the same poem my parents gave me when I was in high school. Rich read that poem for the first time before he left for college. Here's the poem. I've had seniors that write this down and carry it with them away to college. Put it in their dorm room up on their wall. Take a look at it. Don't Quit is the title of the poem. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will. When the road you're trudging seems all uphill. When the funds are low and the debts are high and you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns, and many a failure turns about when he might have won and he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Success is failure turned inside out. The silver tint of the clouds of doubt. You never can tell how close you are. it may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. Nobody really knows who wrote these lines. That's why it's called anonymous. While Rich was at college, he met Nancy, a big city girl addicted to the mall. She was fun-loving, high-spirited, just like Rich. My wife and I asked Rich and Nancy to come with us to see Hank Williams Jr. in concert. During the middle of the performance, Rich asked Nancy to marry him. She said yes. I couldn't believe it. My rowdy friend was settling down, as old Hank would say. Not long after the wedding, he had a son. Now, in addition to raising his level of education, Rich had to raise a family. He read the poem a second time while his wife worked as a dental hygienist, cleaning every tooth in Laramie. Rich attended classes. After 5 years of college and just 3 months from graduation, Rich told Nancy, quote, "I don't want to be a teacher. I want to be a physical therapist." Wow. That meant another 4 years of college. That day, Nancy told Rich she was pregnant again. This time, they both read the poem together. They struggled to survive. I mean, really struggled. Many times when Rich felt like giving up, he'd read that poem again and again. It gave him strength and hope. After 9 years of college in his head and a tattered, worn-out copy of the poem in his hand, Rich finally graduated from college. He gave that worn and tattered copy to his mom, Paula. At age 42, she used the same poem as inspiration to help get her GED. On January 10th, 2004, Rich returned to the same wood shop where he hit me with the stones. He was a live Friday story, only this time he wasn't throwing stones, he was throwing words of advice. Don't quit, Rich told the kids. Amazing things can happen when you don't quit. I still have my original copy of the poem that Mr. Conrad gave me. It's in my orthopedic physical therapy clinic now. Each kid received a copy of the poem that day. In the spring of 2006, Rich became the head baseball coach at his high school alma mater. He instilled that don't quit attitude in his players, and the team went undefeated and won the league championship his first year as head coach. He was named Coach of the Year, an honor he received 2 years in a row. No other baseball coach in our school's history ever accomplished that. Amazing things really do happen when you don't quit. Rich also taught his players to bundle up and stick together. By the way, the author's note, Mr. Conrad does make an observation. Although, he says, I'm a firm believer in the don't quit attitude, there are certain situations that are toxic, abusive, dangerous to your emotional or physical well-being. If you find yourself in one of those situations with your relationships, boss, co-workers, coach, teammates, etc., the best thing you can do is get out of that situation, the bucket, and move forward in a positive direction. Let's make a couple of quick observations for your journals really quickly. Notice, one, it's so easy to quit what you never intended on finishing. That is to say, before you decide to make a promise to yourself, like I'm going to college, you better count the cost. Sit down and think about what it actually means to say, I'm going to do whatever it is I'm going to do. And count the cost so that way you can actually finish and not quit. How about this one? In the process, right, know in advance that you're going to want to quit. Right? And remember your reasons for starting. A senior of mine said, I'm thinking I'm going to go to college. And I said, write down 5 reasons why and make them detailed answers. Real answers. Why I'm going to college. He literally wrote it down. He thought it was the stupidest thing I ever had him do. Then I get a phone call from him. He was 1 mile away from the college campus. He pulled over to the side of the road. He called me because I made him promise that if he changed his mind, he was going to come home, he'd call me first. And so he called me. Mr. McGee, I'm a mile from the campus. I've decided I ain't going. I said, I don't want to hear anything other than you read to me the 5 things you wrote down that I saw you write down. Fine. Pulls it out. Reads it. Number 1, number 2, number 3, gets the 5, finishes, and I asked him, I said, now which one of those 5 do you no longer want? Long pause. Fine, I'm going to college. I said, stick it on your wall. Every morning, look at it. And when any one of those 5 no longer matter to you, draw it off. When all 5 of them are drawn off, and only then do you quit and come home. And of course, when he finally graduated, he had that piece of paper just like this poem. I think it's important. You need to write this down. You got to say in writing what it is you want to do and why you want to do it, because it's easy to quit once it gets hard. And knowing in advance you're going to have those moments when it's really tough is an important point. Finally, number 3, one success leads to another. Mr. Conrad and I really believe this. This is why you have to continually remind yourself of the successes in your life. Hey, have you noticed this in the journals? How many times Mr. Conrad asks you to write about a success in your life? Some of you are saying, it's about the same. I'm writing over and over many of the successes in my life, and there's only a few of them, I find myself having to write about over and over again. That's because you don't want to forget. And here's why. In the minute that you start to quit, you need to be reminded of something that you succeeded at, no matter what it is, to remind yourself, well, if I got through that, I can get through this. For example, I had a senior who was ready to drop out. I said, yeah, but think about this. You got through your freshman year, you were going to drop out. You got through your sophomore year and you were going to drop out. And in your junior year, you absolutely were going to drop out because you were old enough to do it. And you didn't drop out. If you didn't drop out for 3 years, then why would you drop out in your senior year? Seems to me that you've made it this far. And he was like, you're right. I was going to drop out before. Reminding yourself of success in earlier affairs can help you as you get through this, right? Learn how you got through the last success so that you can get through the next challenge. Well, there you go. An important lesson. Number 36 from Mr. Conrad's volume, Unstoppable. Thank you.